Grandstand Bettors here with 32 NFL previews in 32 days. We are on day 31, almost finished. We're going to continue to deep dive into the NFC West with the San Francisco 49ers. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our team previews and all of our season-long NFL free picks. And go ahead and smash that like button as we're just that much closer to the NFL season beginning. Before we get into the 49ers season, just a reminder, we're giving away $1,000 in our NFL betting contest this year at grandstandbettors.com. The link is below in the description. Head on over to grandstandbettors.com. Get signed up for this free contest where you could be taking home the grand prize of $1,000. While you're over at grandstandbettors.com, go ahead and become part of our family and start living that grandstand life. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the San Francisco 49ers season preview. And to do so, let's take a quick look back at their 2020 season. Now, they were plagued with injuries last season, which resulted them in going 6-10. And this hit way under their preseason win total, which was set at 11 wins. But like we said, injuries really did them in last year. Jimmy Garoppolo suffered a season-ending injury in Week 2 against the Jets. Their star defensive edge rusher, Nick Bosa, tore his ACL in Week 2, as well as tight end George Kittle was out for 8 weeks with a foot injury. The list just goes on and on and on. They had a total of 22 players get injuries, which put them out for a significant number of games last season. So it only makes sense why they had 6 wins, even after a year making the Super Bowl the year before. Now, this is always a worry when teams have injuries. Will they come back? Will the players be the same? But we think this is still a solid team, and they have several key players that's going to keep things from falling apart and putting together a winning season. Now, if we get into their 2020 season preview, let's dive into their offseason moves in free agency. The 49ers really have a solid team when they are healthy. Their O-line's good. They have a good quarterback in Garoppolo and a solid run game behind Raheem Mostert. And their defense just overall is as good, ranked 5th last season, even without Nick Bosa basically on the team for the whole season. Their main objective in free agency was to find backups in case anything happened like last season where there were a ton of injuries. Offensively, they added a lot of depth and talent to their line by adding center Alex Mack from the Falcons and guard Sineo Clemente from the Texans. They also added 3 more solid backups in their offense in wide receiver Mohamed Sanu from the Lions, tight end Michael Pruitt from the Titans, and running back Wayne Gallman from the Giants. Now, all these guys are going to serve as backups this season, but it adds experience in NFL and talent in which they lacked last season when the backups had to come in and play. Now, defensively, the 49ers have a very solid defense. Their linebacker core is led by All-Pro Fred Warner, and their line is led by All-Pro Nick Bosa. Their secondary is probably the weaker part of their defense, and they still ranked 4th in the league last season. They had 12 interceptions last season, and most of these guys have been on or at least with the team for 4 years or more. This is the definition of really getting young and trusting the process. That's also probably why they didn't make any big additions to their defense in the offseason. They did add a safety, a linebacker, and a couple of guys to their line, just as insurance if any of the guys get started. But where they really made some moves was in their draft picks. The 49ers selected quarterback Trey Lance with the 3rd overall pick, which they got from a trade with the Miami Dolphins. Now, he's undoubtedly going to be their future quarterback as they dumped future draft picks to the Dolphins to get this pick. And in honesty, we're quite surprised that they did this to go get Lance there. But he has looked better than we thought overall and has had some decent throws in the preseason. Now, with Lance, will Lance start in week number 1 for the 49ers? Probably not, but it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out for the 49ers. And it's definitely a gamble on their part, but if Garoppolo doesn't look good, they might go to him quicker than later. Now, with the next pick in the draft, they took guard Aaron Banks out of Notre Dame. Like we mentioned in the Dolphins video, when they selected Liam Eckenberg out of Notre Dame, and not being biased here, we think these players were really overlooked in the draft. He should start for them in week 1 and be another big boost to that line. With their third pick, the 49ers selected running back Trey Lance out of Ohio State. His name really started popping up at the end of the college football season last year as they had some monster games to close out the season. In 8 games, he had 870 yards and is one of the bigger backs in this draft. He's pretty hard to bring down. We think he's going to fit in nicely behind Mostert, and if you give him the chance in your fantasy league, I would take him. The 49ers had 4 other picks in the draft, but they weren't major roles, so we won't go into highlighting those. If we do hop into their schedule, though, the 49ers have the 19th hardest schedule in the league. Their divisional games are tough this year, and we have them going even through them at 3-3. With the rest of the NFC games, they have to play the Packers, the Bears, Vikings, and Lions, and landing in last place in the NFC West gifted them in games against the Eagles and the Falcons. We honestly could see them winning all these games, but as they do play Green Bay at home, they're most likely going to lose at least one of the games, so we have them getting at least 5 wins out of those. That puts them at 8 wins with 5 chances left to win 3 games on their schedule, as their over-under for the season sits at 10.5 right now. In these games, the 49ers have to play the Jags, Texans, Colts, Titans, and were gifted a game against the Bengals. Now, with their game against Indy in Week 7, we really only see them losing to Tennessee through the stretch and maybe winning the other 4 games. They have a lot of very easy games this season, and with a chip on their shoulder and coming off that 6-win season after missing the playoffs and the year before making the Super Bowl, we like the 49ers to come back strong, put together 12 wins this season. They have a lot of talent on this team, one of the best defenses in the NFL. So, take the over here, 10.5 for the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers fans, what do you think your team's going to do this season? Put your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know. Are they over, under 10.5 season wins this season? For those of us here at Grandstand Bettors, that does it for the 49 season preview. Tomorrow, it is our last day, day 32. Woo! It has been a long 32 days, and we're going to take a look at the LA Rams to finish off the NFL previews. But as always, sit back, relax, enjoy the week before the NFL season starts, and we'll see you tomorrow.